Good morning. Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us discussing the ongoing drought in the country. And let's now link up with the Garissa County Governor, Nadif Jama, who is joining us from the county of Garissa. Governor, greetings to you again. Earlier on we had a technical glitch, but my question was on the collaboration your county administration is making with the national government, state and non-state actors to alleviate the severity of the drought affecting thousands in Garissa County.
Oh yes, indeed. First of all, let me say thank you very much to Citizen TV for this opportunity. Allow me to share my, the situation on the ground. Yes, indeed, we are going through very, very difficult times with regard to the drought, not just only in Garissa County, but in the entire region of northern Kenya. Of course, I heard earlier a colleague in the studio saying about 12 counties. That's true. And I think if you asked me really what we're doing, obviously we are doing whatever we can, notwithstanding the circumstances that we are finding ourselves in as a county. And I know also this is the reality with my colleagues also in the other counties. What we are facing, of course, without belaboring the point, is a situation whereby we've not had rainfall for 3 consecutive, if not more actually, failed rains, and it's terrible. I think it's really a situation whereby we have not only seen in the last season and the one before large numbers of livestock perishing. And we are now also seeing a similar situation actually happening. We've already seen a large number of livestock already dead. Our concern now, as we go forward, is the number of people, as confirmed by Red Cross, 378,000 people who are facing severe starvation, and we actually are concerned that we may actually see. We will also start losing out lives, human lives for that matter. In terms of really what we are doing as a county, and this also goes for the other counties, because I'm aware, we talk. The best we can do for now is to do water tracking to the extent that we can, to do bits here and there regarding, taking foodstuffs to the people in the rural parts of the county. But really that's not enough. We've had about 10 days ago NDMA officials here to help us, with water tracking in particular. Obviously they can only do so much, but it's never enough. I think the reality that what we really now we're looking forward to is for the president to announce this now as a national disaster. And the earlier that's done, the better, because if not, really, I think it's just very, very unfortunate. We want to see, hopefully, more donor institutions coming on board to help us with the situation.
All right, Governor, you've actually talked about something that you, together with other governors from the northeastern region, spoke about just a few days ago in Mombasa County, wanting the government to declare this a national disaster. This was done last year by President Uhuru Kenyatta around September. I mean, what change of strategy are you looking out for? What difference are you looking out for in terms of interventions by the national government as leaders from the affected regions?
Well, obviously, if the government comes on board to appreciate that we are facing a national disaster, certainly we will expect the government to come full-blown, with all kind of support. The national government has a bigger budget than we have. The national government has far bigger resources than we can pull together, particularly so with the support that the national government probably can pull from the donor institutions, the bigger donor institutions. I must say at this juncture something that actually is unfortunate, because this drought also is coming at a time when we as county governors are taking over, and therefore we are passing through a transition period. You see, we haven't even got our first allocations, yet paid as incoming governors. So you can imagine a situation like this whereby you'd not even have, to say so, even a penny for that matter, for this kind of initiatives. So really, it's coming in at a time when we are indeed disadvantaged in terms of the transition we're going through, in terms of resources, and therefore, for the government, for the national government to chip in, is timely, and the earlier that is done, the better for all of us.
All right, Governor, you come from a region that is not new on the list of counties that have been affected by the perennial drought in the country. I believe even as part of your campaign strategy, you must have put this as your main focus, because coming from that region, understanding the challenges in that region, tell us a bit more about the sustainable solutions that you have on the table as a governor in one of the affected regions, because allocations and more allocations year in, year out, experts are saying is not economically sustainable, Governor.
Thank you. A very, very good question. In fact, we had a meeting about a week ago in Mombasa, and we also met as governors from the FCDC counties. FCDC, of course, stands for Frontier Counties Development Corporation, and we actually were discussing even prior to the COG, conference in Mombasa. We were discussing as to really what are the long-term solutions. We had a brief meeting with the World Bank country directors, and what we have said is there must be, as you said rightly, long-term solutions. And I think among the issues we discussed at length, and which we will continue discussing, is dryland farming. Interventions that will be long-term. For people, by doing farming in our counties, farming that is, targeting, drought mitigation for that matter. We would be able to be using whatever waters available, whether river waters, if that would be the waters available, whether using aquifers, that maybe we can tap into, so that we start the big initiatives or big schemes for that matter of dryland farming in the most affected parts of our counties, such that our people can not only have fodder for their livestock, but also food for those who are affected. So yes, indeed, we are talking. We have started now talking in a big way as FCDC governors. I was also recently, obviously, as you're aware, I got the opportunity to be heading the ASAL committee of the Council of Governors, and we hope, with all this put together, we will be actually, launching big approaches to the donor institutions globally, so that we have, indeed, as you rightly say, longer-term solutions to what is these perennial situations.
Let's now engage with the governor on that. And Safin, earlier on you raised a very important point, and this is on climate change. What we had witnessed last year in November, that was in the Scottish city of Glasgow, where world leaders have met and made pledges and commitments. We had our own version here in Makueni County, where it was themed multi-level governance for climate action, and county governors were present. Let's now get the account of the governor. And Governor Nadif, you were not the governor then, but in November last year in Makueni County, the heads of the county units had congregated alongside stakeholders, including donors like embassies here in Nairobi County. But then beyond the pledges made, what commitment will counties make, for example, those who have been severely affected, and Garissa in this case included in your case, in terms of budgetary allocation, in terms of programs that will alleviate the burden of the drought upon the thousands who are affected?
Let me say this. First of all, let me appreciate what the earlier speaker, I haven't got his name, but he spoke very well. He said that we can do a lot in terms of harnessing whatever water is available to us as dry, as you know, ASAL counties. And I want to agree with that. But again, this is something that requires huge investments. What I want to say is, first of all, it's easy to throw blame games on really who is responsible, or who should be responsible, or who should do more than the other. But I think what we need here is, collective effort by, the national government, our national government. The global donor institutions are also responsible, or should be responsible, in supporting, what we are facing, which indeed is the long story of, climate change. What we need is less talk on these matters and indeed real action. The county governments that I, for instance, represent one of them, we're still very young in our history. We're still young. This is only the third, county government that we are beginning. And every year we do so much ourselves in terms of trying to mitigate, the circumstances that we face with these drought situations. But there's only so much we can do. I think what we need now is, as I was saying earlier, yes, indeed, we can harness the whatever water available to us, and the colleague has rightly mentioned, that as a long-term, solution. But that requires investment. Can we therefore pull our efforts together as not only county governments, national government, the international community, the World Bank, and all the major donor institutions should come forward so that we can indeed put together our minds for real, resilient and permanent solutions. And they are there. Each of us as county governors, when we were campaigning, it's not just campaigning, by throwing words around, but we mean well for our people and for our legacy. We have in our reports each county, and I'm saying this because I know what we have been discussing as FCDC governors, as ASAL governors. We have solutions. We have outlined solutions for our counties, and they all look like similar. I mentioned, for instance, my plans for 3 major dryland farming initiatives in Garissa County. One of them along the Tana River that the colleague mentioned. Another one in the Merti Aquifer in the northern part of the county, and so forth and so on. So we have we have the plans, we have the ideas, but the investment required is well beyond what, for instance, my budget as a county governor, can accommodate.
All right. So
we want some sincere, serious, support that should come forward quickly, instead of a lot of talk and a lot of conferencing and a lot of really time being wasted on discussing global warming or climate change. Those are realities now. We know them very well.
All right.
Well, the question is how much do we need to do? How fast can we move?
Governor, just to follow up on what you've said, of course, you've talked about some of the things that you cite as sustainable solutions. But if you look at Garissa County, about 480,000 people who could be watching you right now, majority of them did not have anything to eat last night. And they want to understand from their new governor, what missed opportunities have you already identified in terms of those sustainable solutions? And what are you going to prioritize in the next 5 years in terms of the short-term, mid-term and long-term solutions?
Well, I've already said that. I mean, other than, of course, my plans within my manifesto, within my development plans to, uplift the local economy in different ways. Because that itself also is important. And in as much as we are talking about people suffering in the rural parts of the country, i.e. my pastoralist populations. But I also have already a large number of people who lost their livestock and they have moved to the town. So a big initiative that, of course, I am bound to embark on is, first of all, to ensure that we also create some strong, sub-county economic interventions, urban interventions for that matter. But beyond that, of course, for the rural parts of the county, I've mentioned that we have big ideas for dryland farming, irrigation farming for that matter, so that we can create schemes, livelihood schemes, so that we can be having, big chunks of lands where we can irrigate, to create, to grow both fodder and food for our people. So we do have plans, and I think this is where I'll request that the donors, some of them hopefully who are listening to us, to come forward and work with us, because whatever ideas we may have, we can only sustain them to the extent that our budgets can allow. But where really we believe we can be getting some support, the bigger donor institutions who indeed do have budgets for long-term intervention. So I call upon them to come forward and work with us as FCDC counties, as ASL counties. And we are available. We have ideas. We have very, very good ideas. We have very good plans for our people. But without the necessary capital, without the necessary investment, then it really, we will not do much.
What's your clarion call, Mheshimiwa?
Thank you. I think for me, this is very, very important and a very, very, indeed, should I say, a topic that is dear to us in terms of how we need to tackle it. What I want to say is as follows, that we as the leaders of the ASL counties, we know what to do. We are not just people who wake up to see what's happening to our people every morning. We are leaders, we have obligations, we have duties, and therefore my clarion call is for the world community to appreciate that continuous emergency interventions is not the solution. I like what a colleague has said earlier, that the water pan done for 20 million served better than millions being spent on emergency interventions. What we're saying, moving even beyond that, the amount of time and resources being spent by the so-called development agencies or partners. And I don't know why really, I sometimes get the feeling that the development partners, the non-governmental institutions, sort of prefer those short-term interventions as opposed to coming to sit with us and we talk about long-term sort of permanent solutions. And this is the way forward. As the chair of the ASL committee of the Council of Governors, as a key member of the FCDC counties, we will soon be calling for an international conference in one of our counties so that we can show the world what it is that we can solve our problems permanently. And we know it. And we will be asking for more or less of short-term interventions, emergency interventions, and we'll be asking for, if we are sincere, we'll be asking for quick, permanent, and we know the solutions, we know what they are. I mean, we know what we want to achieve for our people. We do not have a large number of population in our countries to the extent that we cannot do 3, 4, 5 major schemes to settle our people whenever. Droughts now up. I mean, talking about interventions short-term is no longer a solution. Let's come forward together and create, and we have the plans. We'll do for you the processions you require. We'll chip in with whatever money we can do. We will chip in with whatever acts or legal issues you may require through our assemblies. But please come and partner with us, not for emergency interventions, but for long-term solutions. We know what it is that we want to achieve, and we'll help you to give you all that you may require. But let's come with that approach, not just continuous emergency interventions which are not taking us anywhere. I mean, for instance, when I was a governor, I did here more than 50 water pans. But I mean, again, that can only help so much, because if you do a water pan and the rains fail for one season and the other season, there'll be no water in those pans. For instance, now we have almost, we have no water pan at all with any water. I mean, by and large. Okay. I mean, it doesn't help. What helps is some permanent interventions, which we know what they are, we know how to go about them, we have the ideas and the plans, and my clarion call is to call on our development partners, and for that matter, the national government, to come forward. We can even, talk about how we can do a canal from the Tana River to the northern part of the county, and that's where mostly a lot of mitigation is required. But again, all that requires investments. And therefore, my current call is, let's please now move forward to more of serious permanent interventions as opposed to continuous short-term emergency interventions.
All right, thank you so much, Governor. And Nadif Jama there saying that they have the plan. Yes. They know the permanent